For today's video, I thought I'd take the Emira out to the mountains of North Carolina. I'm going to kidnap my niece Sam, who's out there visiting family, and then we're going to go explore some back roads and twisties and just have a blast. So I'm really looking forward to it because up till now I haven't really had an opportunity to drive the Emira for fun. It's really just been, driving it from Indianapolis to North Carolina in one day and then a couple of other things around town.
And I've got that thing, and I've got the camera.
That was so much bigger than I was expecting it to be.
The camera?
That is like an old school.
I don't know about old school. It's like,
I was thinking something like that.
It's not super old. As you might, there's no hand crank.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking. The flip up.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know, I was just expecting.
Yeah, no worries.
Something worse.
Okay, so Sam, you ready for some fun? Okay, hopefully no traffic. And
I have the thing.
And I just have the car in tour mode for now. And I am not going to drive super aggressively because I'm still getting used to the car.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I mean, if we decide to get more aggressive later, then that can happen.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Please subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. To plan this trip, I used a couple different resources. First off, I went to my favorite website, roadcurvature.com. And you can see, if you look at where I live, here in Raleigh, North Carolina, you can see I'm going to be driving out to the Highlands area of North Carolina, out in the mountains. And if you look at all those nice colored lines, you can see that there are a lot of incredibly wonderful, twisty back roads out in that part of the state. Road curvature is a great starting point, but it doesn't give you intel about the quality of the roads, the amount of traffic you'll see on the roads, and things like that. And this being the summer in the North Carolina mountains, it's really a pretty busy time. There are a lot of tourists out that way, and the last thing you want to do is get stuck on a road behind a bunch of tourists and a camper or something like that. So I reached out to Josh at Smoky Mountain Drives, and he gave me some great tips on roads to drive in that area. Josh organizes all kinds of drives in the mountains. He did a Lotus versus Dragon event that I wasn't able to attend, but some of my friends attended and they had a blast. The weekend before my trip to the mountains, he was leading a group of 100 BMWs on something called Emvading the Dragon. So I think if you're interested in going to the North Carolina mountains and having a blast, please check out Smoky Mountain Drives and talk to Josh.
I did feel driving out here that the speed limits were generous.
People either go way under, it feels like, or want to go way over.
Right, there's no following the law.
This trip will total about 900 miles, so I'm going to drive 300 miles out to the mountains, kidnap my niece Sam, and then we're going to drive about 300 miles. And then, of course, the end, I'm going to drive 300 miles back to Raleigh. So throughout this video, I'll tell you what I think about the Emira, how it compares to other cars like the Lotus Elise and the Alfa Romeo 4C, and generally comment on the experience.
And we very nearly lost control.
Yeah.
That was not expected.
This is my niece Sam, short for Samantha. And during our mountain adventure, she said, "Uncle Peter, am I the first passenger in your Lotus Emira?" And I thought back and I was like, you know what? You are. Because what happened is I took delivery in Indianapolis, and as soon as I took the car away from the dealership, I drove to my sister's house and my niece Sam was there. So I took her for a fun ride. So I guess it's fitting for this video that Sam is my companion. One of the things that's always interesting after a trip or an event like this is how much video footage I actually have. So with two cameras, a GoPro and a Handycam, I ended up with 156 gigabytes of content afterwards. And I'm not going to share all that because, oh my gosh, it would be so many hours of video. And a lot of it is not awesome, right? Like when I'm stuck behind someone hauling mulch or something like that. But a lot of it is also very entertaining. And so I think what I'll do is I'll have this video and then I'll probably put together an extended cut that has more of the driving. That way, if you're interested in just watching the roads and checking that out in more detail for a possible visit yourself, you'll be able to do that. But don't hold me to it. I'm not 100% sure I'll do it. It would be a pretty long video, I think, and I just don't know what the audience is for those things. Maybe, having said that, maybe I'll give it a try just to see, who might like it. I've got about 1,300 miles on the odometer, so I'm well past my break-in period. If you'd like to see that epic journey, check out this video where I completed the break-in almost 1,000 miles within 24 hours of taking delivery. Welcome to the Emira channel on Game of Life 411. Where you'll find tons of great content on all aspects of the Lotus Emira. To date, I've already got 20 plus Emira videos, so check them out. Welcome to my Lotus Emira vlog, and welcome to my channel, Game of Life 411, where you'll find tons of great content about the Lotus Emira, other great cars, my hip vlog, and other topics like careers, health, finance, family, etc. So I'll be honest here, I'm not sure whether to call all of my Emira content the Emira channel or my Emira vlog. So please check out some of my Emira videos and let me know what you think makes the most sense, either Emira channel or my Emira vlog. Thanks in advance, I really appreciate your input. One of the things that I enjoy about sports car is the sound of the exhaust and the sound of the engine. And during this trip, I really became enamored with the Supercharger whine that this thing has. The Lotus Emira's Supercharger just sounds to me like a jet turbine or something. And I really, really enjoy it. It does have a sort of a weird sound when you first start out from a stop in first gear. And I haven't figured out exactly what that is. There's a little bit of a rattle sound. I had mentioned this, several of us noticed it during a test drive, which if you were interested, you can check out in this video. But, needless to say, I do want to figure out what exactly that rattling sound is. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much. I've always assumed it was the supercharger spooling up from a low RPM situation, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to try and figure that out, and I'll share that in another video. But that supercharger whine, oh my goodness, it is just intoxicating. I really, really enjoyed that throughout this trip. You wouldn't believe all the things I've had go wrong with cameras.
Really?
Oh, I forgot the cap on one time. I had this whole thing where this guy had a very special car and he was in town just, briefly. Let me drive it, blah, 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 get to the end. Fucking cap's on the camera.
entire time.
Sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks. But, you know, that just shows what a professional I am.
So what do the different things mean?
Well, so tour is,
Oh, I see those.
yeah. And so tour is just normal driving,
Oh, okay.
right? Whoops. And then sport, so they just, you know, they changed the exhaust. If
Okay.
you really listen, you can hear it. The like response of the throttle and stuff is a little bit more crisp,
Okay.
right? As opposed to like in touring mode, you're more about comfort. So it just
Okay.
kind of everything is eased into. And then in track mode, all cars now have like stability control, so that if your wheels start slipping, it will automatically compensate to keep you on the road,
nice.
right? Yeah. Well, in track mode, that gets turned off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you could slide off the road. So I don't, and I think it does also again make the car a little bit more aggressive in terms of the throttle response and things like that. I'm probably, at least today, I'm not going to even try track mode because I never know what's ahead of me,
Yes,
you know.
the
And
options
so,
you haven't done,
yeah, and I know I was talking to someone on Saturday who had done some of these roads out here, and he's like, yeah, we were in the part of this group and yada yada, and they're even communicating on walkie-talkies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he's like, you know, and still, you know, there were a couple of them where I came over this rise or around this corner and I like just about lost it, you know. Okay, so we're in sport mode. As I was enjoying these twisty roads, I couldn't help thinking about my Lotus Elise. One of the things that I've always loved about the Lotus Elise is how maneuverable it is, how it corners. I mean, you really can dive into those corners and corner very sharply. It just does a fabulous job. It's not necessarily the fastest car in a straightaway, but when it comes to cornering, you'll often pick up time against other faster cars. So I was trying to think, okay, the Emira is a considerably larger and heavier car than the Lotus Elise. And I can share with you some images here as well as some statistics to show the differences. So I was curious how different of a driving experience it would be. And I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. I thought, oh, you know, this car is so much heavier, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be more lumbering. It's going to be not as, you know, tight on the cornering. Lotus has done a phenomenal job. The cornering ability was fabulous. I didn't notice a huge difference, to be honest, between this car and my Lotus Elise. I don't know if that's just because, you know, I was driving the Emira and didn't have the Elise for a comparison. I am going to have to do a video where I drive the two back to back on the same roads and can do a real proper comparison, but I was not disappointed. The Emira drove fabulously, and it's something you hear about pretty often, which is just how well it handles and how well it turns and corners and things like that. And yeah, it did not disappoint. So from an initial perspective, on these twisty roads in the North Carolina mountains, I thought it was as much fun as the Lotus Elise. Now, again, I'll put together another video where I do a proper back-to-back comparison, but for now, I just have to summarize and say it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. The first question that almost everybody asks me when they first see my Lotus Emira is, how fast have I taken it? What is the top speed? And I always have to answer them, I'm not really into driving fast. What I enjoy is accelerating fast and cornering sharply, going around a bunch of twisty roads and things like that. But actual top speed, to me, I just have never been super enamored with, especially when I'm not on a track, because when you're on a public road, two things could happen. Number one, at super high speed, if you hit a twig or a little rock, you could wipe out. I mean, you could just crash. I mean, it could cause you to go out of control. So don't like the idea of that. And then number two, if a police officer catches you going that fast, you might lose your license. And I would hate to lose my license. So I don't tend to drive at high top speeds, but I do like to drive aggressively through corners and things like that. So that's what I usually tell people. And on this trip, it was interesting because you actually don't have to drive that fast to really enjoy these twisty roads. I was really kind of surprised. I mean, even the posted speed limits on some of these roads are pretty challenging to maintain if you're going through there. I think they're more like maximums. And, obviously they don't want to have speed limit signs every tenth of a mile, so that when a curve comes, they don't want to reduce the speed, and then when a straightaway comes, they don't want to increase the speed. So they post a speed limit that, quite frankly, I think would be challenging for someone in almost any vehicle to maintain through all the twisties and things like that. So that makes for a lot of fun without exceeding the speed limit. I will say I probably did exceed the speed limit quite a bit, but these are still fun roads even at the speed limit. No, that's okay. So far I'm giving you a C as Navigator. We'll see if you can raise your grade.
I'm not too familiar.
It's okay. I mean, I'm enjoying it because it's beautiful and I'm with my niece and, it's a good time. So.
Great entertainment. It's really just a giant story time.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. We get to know each other a little better. For the first day of this trip, I actually wore my leather driving shoes. They're a little bit narrower than my typical tennis shoes. And I did that because I wasn't sure how much shifting I was going to have to do. And the pedals are pretty close in the Lotus Emira. And I didn't want to get caught, during a very time-sensitive point where I'm trying to go around a corner or upshift or downshift. I didn't want to get caught up on the shoes. But what I found is for most of these roads, I was able to either stay in second gear or third gear and wasn't doing a whole lot of shifting. So the second day I went ahead and just wore my regular tennis shoes because those are actually much more comfortable for me.
Thanks for watching my first fun drive of the Lotus Emira in the mountains of North Carolina. The rest of day one's footage is a little bit too buggy to share. But I've included a few last twisties here for you to enjoy, and I hope you'll tune in again for my day 2 adventures, where I'll be sharing a different perspective on the Lotus Emira. If you're not already a subscriber, please take a second now to subscribe to my channel, Game of Life 411, and I'll catch you next time on the Emira channel or the Emira vlog.